Sterikit's first line of code was actually written in Japan. I had been traveling the world helping developers port applications from HoloLens 1 to HoloLens 2, and so I basically got a crash course in what is difficult for developers. And so this was something that I thought about a lot because my day-to-day was just kind of traveling around and helping people solve those problems. And so this was also around the same time that OpenXR first came out, so the very early versions, and I had written a tutorial about that, and I was very excited about it. So Sterikit was really born from this opportunity for cross-platform development with OpenXR, and then all of these hard, tough problems that people were encountering. So it was really designed to solve everything that I was just working with on a daily basis. So hopefully it solves these problems for you as well.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this first session in the holographic room, and I'd like to introduce Christian, who's going to talk about Metaverse, the next frontier of human communication and collaboration. And with that, the stage is completely yours, and I'll add us to the stream and have a funny, here we go, and take it away.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, and welcome to my talk. Metaverse, the next frontier of human communication and collaboration. I hope the connection will be fine. I'm currently in Singapore, so good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And yeah, my name is Christian Klessner. I'm the founder of HoloLux and a CEO. I'm also a Microsoft MVP now for 13 years. I started with very early with SharePoint 2003 with all that collaboration stuff when that came up. And yeah, actually I started super early with IT. My parents had a travel agency here in Germany, and I wasn't aware about it as a kid, but it seems in this business you invested early in communication technology and IT technology. And I was as a kid already very fascinated about this amber blinking screens of an AS400 and the cursor ready, the tabula rasa, to create something completely new from scratch. What was always fascinating for me in the IT business. And now with all that things, mixed reality, VR, AR, and Metaverse, my childhood dream came much closer. And so I'm happy that today I helped some of the most famous brands worldwide to develop their vision and mission into the Metaverse. So then, a mammoth. So I bet I cannot really see you here in that live stream. I bet we do not have too many mammoths watching this live stream. And yeah, but why is that? How we survive and the mammoths are gone? How was it that we just take them and then throw them from a mountain or something like this? We are a single human is not very strong. We even would maybe have problems to fight a wild pig in nature when we are alone. So how we prevail in the whole history of human being or of the earth. So it was the different things that influence that. For example, there are different things that humans make very special in nature. It's we can pass knowledge from one generation to another generation. And the other thing is we collaborate. So a single human is not strong, but through our collaboration, many of us are strong. And the foundation of collaboration is actually communication. So this was always very, very important. And we see really, really old pictures like here, where people already painted that they hunted together a wild pig and using tools for doing that. That using tools is also one of our strengths. And actually, how important that is, collaboration and global collaboration. A guy named Thomas Thwaites did that with something it's called the toaster experiment. It was in the early 90s. And what he wanted to try is he wanted to check what a single human can actually do. And he thought, okay, a toaster is something everybody has in his kitchen, everybody has it, everybody use it. But could he build it completely alone as a single human? And then he's from UK. He went there to factor the iron to melt it. He used corn for making a replacement for plastic. He used for the energy. He used a potato battery. As far as I remember, he needed around half a year to finish that toaster. And as far as I know, it worked once. Then it had exploded and looked like you see now here on the picture. So, and he even had to admit that he cheated for that thing because he had no clue how he can replace plastic, that he can replace plastic with corn and how to do that, or how to build a battery out of a potato. So he had to admit that he had to cheat. He had to use the internet. He had to use Wikipedia to build this. So, and this is a quite simple product. Imagine a product like your computer or your mobile phone. How many people, how many components are in? What the supply chain is in this, from factoring the resources to build it, to pre-process, to after-process that, to make the products. It's a really, really big supply chain behind it. Without that, we could not do it. Nobody of us can build a computer or a mobile phone alone. So actually, this is super, super important for humanity that we work together. I call it the collaboration gene. We have that in our genes. Collaboration is the most important strength we have as a species, and this is why we have it in the genes. When you see, for example, that's the classical example is a man helps an old woman over the street or carrying a bag. Things like this happens. We sometimes help people without getting a direct reward. When you see the evolution theory, such a behavior which would not have any use for us as a species would never survive over millions of years. And that's why we still have that gene to help each other. And it's actually what also helps to build community. This gene is the foundation for building communities, for building families, companies, maybe even countries that meld people together, help them each other work together, because as a single human, we would not be very successful. So it's deeply anchored in our genes that we collaborate. It's very important for us. And the most dangerous weapon we have is not the atomic bomb, it's actually communication. Communication is extremely, extremely important. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. Maybe I should replace that picture soon. And it has a very long history. What you see here is maybe the earliest predecessor of Microsoft Teams. This is one of the very first methodologies, technologies that are able for remote communication. They used it to signal different things. For example, when there was an attack, they had different signals, or to gather people at a certain location. They used smoke signals. It looks very old school here now, but these times it was a really, really big innovation to communicate over a long distance with smoke signals. And it always was parallel. In parallel, it was also the beginning of IT security, because what happened is people saw that science, they faked the science, and then they signal together at a wrong location, and then you attack another one. So let's say these kind of communication technologies always were hand in hand with IT security, even in the times of remote signaling. So, and when we see this machine, I'm not sure if you know it. It's a Enigma. So many people claim that it was really, really important in the Second World War, that the British were able to intercept and decrypt the communication of the Germans, so they always know what they're planning and could react accordingly. So many people claim this was really a really, really big matter, and yeah, for the Second World War and for the win of the Allies. And when we see it these days, you see all that communication about the satellites over Ukraine, and communication and cutting that communication, and even see the Russians see that even as an offense there. So you see, communication is a super, super important thing, and without communication, you're pretty lost. So in the history of communication is for sure also very long. We see, for example, the printing press was around 1400, and then let's say around 400 years the telegraph came. So it's around 400 years, and then we see the next step for communication, the telephone. The distance, let's say it was around 100 years, and then the next evolution was faster, faster, faster. And the cycle is getting smaller, smaller, and that is because with every of these communication technologies, we are able to work better together. We are able to innovate faster, and so we bring out the next communication technology faster, and the next faster and faster, faster. This is why things getting faster and faster these days. So you call it also, it's a little bit, it's not 100% true, but there's something is called the Moore's law, and you say like transistor, the speed they compute doubles every 2 years, and it's a little bit like, yeah, it's exponential developing each communication technology, the next one. So, and then something happened with all that COVID things, and I remember at the beginning, everybody, I think most of the people worldwide, they went to a home office, they work alone from home. It was also very good for the Teams adoption. So we struggled many years to helping people to push forward Teams adoption, but actually COVID did a pretty good job there. But then afterwards, I found that article later, like Zoom fatigue is taxing the brain in the National Geographic, in the very famous magazine. Meanwhile, people call it video fatigue, a little bit more brand neutral. And it's about that many people got somehow psychological pressure, stress, because they're alone at home working and just having Zoom calls, Teams calls. So that's because we said humans have to work together. What they are missing is the feeling of social presence. It's the feeling of being together. And as we said before, this is deeply anchored in our genes. So, and then there were a very interesting experiment. But the question is maybe what has it to do with metaverse, mixed reality, and all that stuff? So it was in 2001 when they did this experiment in Stanford. What they did is they put people in a room scale virtual reality experience. The participants had no clue what it's about, and what they did is they put a basic object inside, like a cylinder or a cube or something like this, and they watched how the people walk, which paths they take, and yeah, the people, they just walked through that object, they put a head inside, they interacted in any possibility way with that object. Then they changed the experiment and put in a human-looking avatar, sometimes with eye blinking or a little bit head movement. And then the participants acted completely different. They kept something that we call personal distance, personal space. They walked exactly the same way and behaved exactly in the same way like they would do when they would be a real person. And what they I missed that slide. What they really could prove there is that virtual reality or mixed reality, all that 3D technologies are the first communication technology that is able to trigger your instincts and to touch your emotions. The problem that we see with the video fatigue, that is coming because a Teams meeting in 2D is just stimulating our neocortex. That's where we do the logical thinking with. But it doesn't touch our emotions. And as we see before, we have that in our genes. We need that kind of social presence and collaboration and communication. But a 2D meeting cannot trigger this instincts. And yeah, imagine what impact it has for a communication technology, the first communication technology that is able to do this. For a long time already, we try, or in marketing, they do not sell really unique selling proposition. That you barely these days have a unique selling proposition. They always try to sell over emotions. And Microsoft also claims somehow they sell over trust, and trust is also something that's coming from not from logic thinking. It's something that's coming from the emotions. So our whole marketing and everything is driven by emotion and instincts. Even people think they would do it logically, but actually we are driven by our emotions. And now we have the first time technologies that are able to stimulate this, to use it, or even in the bad way to manipulate it. And yeah, for a long time, I avoided somehow clients like banking and yeah, finance, insurance, and things like this, because I always thought they're very conservative and somehow it seemed boring. And recently, most of my customers are actually banks and insurance. And why is that? This is because they have a very abstract product, and really comparing insurance, it's sometimes hard. So in the end, many people buy because they trust a certain agent, or it's really also trust based. And with this technology, like metaverse technologies like mixed reality, virtual reality, they have now the chance to make their products more emotional, to sell more over an experience and not just boring financial products. And this is why they're so eager to try this, because they had never the chance to sell in an emotional way. So they see a very huge potential there to interacting in a new way with their clients. So now, for sure, it's a topic that everywhere is discussed. What actually is the metaverse? So I think one thing should be clear. There is currently nothing like a metaverse. It's more an idea, or yeah, what will happen in the future. And yeah, what everybody agrees on is that it will be kind of the next evolution of the internet. And yeah, what does this mean? So for me, it's put it basically, it's the internet gets 3D, so everything gets 3D, but just 3D is not enough. It must also be immersive. That means it must be a mix in of technologies like mixed reality. If not, it's something like Second Life. We had that already, but Second Life missed the immersiveness. So, and just imagine what that also means for the future. It will become a new channel where you can, yeah, immersive interact with brands. Imagine a website where you have your brand in the future. You not just go on a website in 2D. No, you dive into that website, you go into that company, you maybe come into a virtual lobby, a virtual agent will come, AI, maybe ask you first question, introduce you to the product. At a certain point, it hands over to maybe to a real agent. It will be a completely new way how we can interact with brands, and it will change many things. So yeah, the internet will get 3D. So when we see there are many studies around how much the market value will be, so a little older one, I think 1 year old, is around Bloomberg. They said, okay, it will be a 800 billion market. Then the next one came was JP Morgan. I think it was beginning of that year. They said it will be a trillion market. And now actually the customer, I'm here in Singapore, by the way, I'm here at the FinTech Festival in Singapore, a lot of banking here. And my client Citibank, they said they think it will be even a 13 trillion market. So everybody is pretty sure it will be like this. And it remembers me a little bit like also with cloud computing. At the beginning, we start talking about this. There were these numbers, how big that market were. People say, what is it actually? It's not web hosting, also cloud computing. Nobody had a real clue about it. And it was also a little bit term-wise, it was also a little bit overhyped. This was not there, but everybody said, oh, it will be the next big thing. And yeah, then you didn't hear it so much anymore. And then a few years later, you wake up and suddenly everybody is in the cloud. So recently, most of the larger clients I work with, or I would say even every client I recently work with, is somehow in the cloud. Not all service, but really many, many, many. And 10 years ago, the people said, oh, no, never, and we do not trust that thing. So it was a longer progress, but it's actually there. And when we talk these days about the metaverse, I think it's even more complicated to imagine how it would be. It is a little bit like when in the 80s, the internet was there, or in the 90s, and we start to thinking how might the internet would look like in 2022. So it's really hard to imagine what we built on these protocols like, I don't know, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint. All this is built on the initial internet protocols, but we started with blinking, very colorful HTML pages. So it's a little bit when we talk about the metaverse, like when we talk about and brainstorm about the internet in the, let's say, 80s, 90s. And I think what we also have to be aware of, I think we will also see a similar effect than we had with the such-called internet bubble. I was, I think it was 3 weeks ago on the GITEX in Dubai. It's one of the largest IT events in the world. They have over 100,000 attendees. Yeah, and they really focus also a lot on the metaverse. The Dubai government, for example, they have the vision to become one of the top 10 cities worldwide in the metaverse. They have really a strong vision about this. So when we see, metaverse is something like talking in the 80s, 90s about the internet, it is influenced by different technologies or converge different technologies. We have on one side, we have something, let me see if the pen works here. We have on one side something like the virtual worlds. This is also something like Allspace VR. You can have a virtual world. Allspace, for example, has more a closed world, and then you have other virtual worlds, open worlds like Decentraland or Sandbox, for example. So you have that virtual worlds. Also, Second Life was a virtual world. Then we have other technologies that is also very in now. It's all that Web3 things. It's mostly based on the idea of core values of the internet. It's about decentralization, and for sure, decentralization. Blockchain is very decentral, or is a decentral technology. And so these platforms focus a lot about Web3. So it's a lot of NFTs, blockchain around in these things, and very famous platforms in this area will be or are currently Sandbox and Decentraland. They're very famous there, but they lack something. They are just more like a world like Second Life plus blockchain. But what they miss is, that's also very important, is they miss that, however, meanwhile, it seems mixed reality is the term to go, because even Meta now call the technology mixed reality. So it's a technology that is also super important for the metaverse, and that with this technology, the immersiveness will come. And like I explained before, the really game changer of this is not just that it's 3D. The game changer is it's immersive. It is real for the brain. And so it's a very, very important factor of a real metaverse is that it's immersive. And for example, Decentraland is missing that. And when you see, for example, when I see Allspace, for example, I see Allspace is a virtual world and it's used this technology, but no Web 3.0. Then I see a platform like Decentraland, and you see it's an open virtual world, but it's more Web 3. And yeah, and what is maybe also not directly so obvious is that it will also be a game changer for AI. So I'm not a big fan of talking with "Hey Siri," talking into a black box into a phone. This is not very natural. With these technologies, with mixed reality, you are able to give an AI a face, to give an AI a shape, a body, to give an AI emotions, to let him express emotions. You see also recently the trends like deepfakes and meta-humans and things like this. Here, it will be even hard in the metaverse to see, do you talk with a real human because it can also express emotions, or you talk maybe with an AI. So it's also it brings also AI into the game, and all these things will converge in I'm not sure exactly in how many years, but that will converge in something that we call the metaverse. But when this will happen, nobody will call it metaverse anymore. We will just call it reality. Then it's just there. And metaverse is just it's just the idea of this new immersive next level internet would bring all that things together and shift the internet to a new level. And I think it will be really a game changer. And currently, people, when they talk about metaverse, they think mostly about virtual reality because the technology is currently, let's say, in a better shape than the AR technologies. The HoloLens is a super cool device, super innovative, but also clearly Microsoft sell that also as enterprise event, and it's not fashion. And when it's not fashion, the people would not use it on a daily basis. They would not use it in their daily life. And my personal bet here is that eventually Apple will come on stage and say, or every people expect that every year that it will happen, but till now it did not. But they come out and say, hey, here are these new glasses, and they want to reproduce that iPhone moment. Everybody know they invest a lot in that technology, and then the metaverse is not just so VR focused, it will be also AR focused. When you see people, and I'm not sure if you also like this, I often write messages, I walk around, and sometimes you even hit people or a light or something because you just watch and click on your mobile phone. And when you maybe try the HoloLens, you get a glimpse into it. You wear that device, you walk around, you maybe have a Teams call here, your chat message come here, and yeah, this is pretty clear that this is coming. The hardware is currently not there, but it's super obvious that it eventually will be there. So, and also I forgot to say that before when I told about the do my GITEX, there were many startups showing new metaverse. Everybody say metaverse, we have the metaverse, here's the metaverse. It's currently not there, so that's not true. But however, they say we have a platform, there's a new platform. It will be a little bit like the internet bubble. There's now a lot of metaverse, super hype about it. There are many startups, they're building metaverse platform, and then like the internet bubble, boom. But what will leave there will be a lot of companies, or I mean a lot, maybe rather a few, like in the internet boom, like Google, YouTube, eBay, Amazon, all these companies that came out of this of that internet hype. And I think it will be here pretty similar with the metaverse. So it's currently maybe term-wise a little overhyped. The hardware is not really ready. It's on the way. The platform also from compliance and security things all not really there. But it's already super hyped, the term. And I think it will take exactly the same development like the internet itself, with that internet bubble with a lot of startups. So and just to give a little bit impression what we are now already doing with customers, I have some things here in Allspace VR. We use currently a lot of Allspace VR to somehow to bridge the gap to Microsoft Mesh, because many customers are very interested, and we all know, maybe you're coming also from the collaboration area, that adoption and these things take more time than sometimes developing new things. And so we use currently Allspace VR and check with customers how they can make their vision and mission, how they shift that into the metaverse. For example, we have a client, AIA, when you're not from, I think in Europe, nobody knows it, but it's actually one of the 100 largest company worldwide. It's insurance in Asia. And they have that claim. They have that claim longer, healthier lives for everyone. This is their company claim. And then we consider how we can help them in the metaverse. And then you come with things like, having sport, meditation, and it's all things that you can even prove scientifically that it has a positive impact on the human being. And so they start to explore how they can use the metaverse to get value for their client. And then here's some impressions what we recently did with Allspace. Yeah, and everyone, welcome to the Metaverse.
Cheers. Hi, how are you?
So cool here.
That is very nice.
It's not just a marketing idea or a hype or something. There's really science behind it, why it will be the next big thing for communication.
We are making significant strides in our transformation journey to become a simpler, faster, more connected, digitally enabled insurance.
And with virtual reality, you have the first communication technology that is able to touch your emotions and to trigger your instincts.
The metaverse will be the next evolution of the internet, and it will drive digitalization to a whole new level, and we will be all part of it.
Welcome all to the Winter Wonderland for Deutsche Bank, hosted in Allspace VR. My name is Asif Jinnah, and I'm the Global Technology Strategist for Microsoft.
Seeing this in action for the first time has certainly sprung a lot of ideas up on how the bank can use this technology to our advantage in the future.
AIA is one of the first in the insurance industry to leverage Microsoft Allspace VR platform to create 3D mixed reality experience for your employees.
I believe it can be a powerful tool for enhancing the employee experience and deeper engagement with our customers, agents, and the talent we seek to attract.
So yeah, this just a few things that we recently built with clients, and you saw how people interact. They cheers with the cocktails. You see really some of the, even the drinks are virtual. It's always funny to see this. You put some cocktails on a table, and people gather there and they grab that cocktails. They say cheers and start cheering and drinking. And this is also something, a behavior, and it really works. And this is already something that people are also missing. Even you use it now with 2D. There's some of the events, there were different events with AIA, like a town hall. Then you have 1,000 people, and for sure they do not have all virtual reality devices. What you use then is you use for sure the desktop in 2D. But there's, even with the desktop, there's an advantage. So when we talk with clients, for example, also Deutsche Telekom, they had a employee onboarding event. They do that in Microsoft Teams. They have, I'm not sure, 3, 4, 5 tracks the whole day. It would not be super cool to make the whole day tracks in the metaverse, especially in virtual reality. It's rather half hour thing what you can do. But what we did then, and what people gave them over years over feedback, it's an international event. They said it's all great content, this is all super great, but actually we do not meet new colleagues, we cannot make new friends, we do not meet other people. And what we did then with them, for example, and also with AIA, after party where people, you can have, different topics, maybe you discuss or put a sign on the table, put some drinks there. And afterwards, people can even walk around, and even in 2D, you have at least 3D audio, you have spatial audio. You can move to one table, and they talk about topic A, and then you think, okay, you maybe join the topic or think, hey, that's not so interesting for me. And then you walk to the next table and you talk with them and you actually meet new persons. And this is currently in Teams, Zooms, whatever you use, or it's not really possible. And are already now values that you can, where you can really have values already using even the technology with first prototypes in 2D. So in here, it's not the latest Microsoft Mesh use cases, but it's not special Microsoft Mesh use cases. It's just general use cases. And what Microsoft did is Microsoft said, hey, there are 3 metaverse. There's something like that's not on that slide. Like it's industrial metaverse. It's even more obvious because you have a lot of 3D engineering things, and everybody somehow sounds logically. You have a 3D model, and you do not work in 2D, so you have the 3D model in 3D. So this feels already very natural. And then you have 2 other metaverse. You have a employee metaverse. This is what actually Microsoft Mesh for Teams is focusing on. And you have there the immersive meetings. That's where many customers eagerly waiting on it. And beside that, for sure, there can be different type of meetings and collaboration. It's also visuals. You have 3D models and or other kind of design workshops where you can meet in virtual reality. The advantages, it feels more natural instead just a 2D meeting. Then you have things, like town halls, campuses, conferences, or after parties, live events with music and social hubs. So and then there's the consumer metaverse, which is meetups or virtual stores, virtual offices, public conferences, larger live concerts, fan club, and everything. This is currently more covered from Allspace. Allspace VR currently you can do all that cases on the lower level, on the customers level already with Allspace VR, but most likely or eventually Allspace VR will somehow also get mesh infused. Currently, it's not 100% sure when or what exactly, but it's pretty sure that there will be eventually something new. So, and then just to say it, so Microsoft make it more tangible or easier for people. So they say there's industrial metaverse, employee metaverse, or customer metaverse, consumer metaverse, but actually this is kind of everything. You are kind of a consumer or a normal social being in your spare time. That's more the consumer metaverse. Then you're also somehow you have to work for a living usually, and this will be affected by the metaverse. And so somehow it's a foundation technology. Actually, every aspect of our life will be changed by the metaverse. Like the internet changed our life, the mobile phone changed our life, and the metaverse will also change our life. So, and this brings me to the end, to that thing. Why metaverse is not just a term or hype, but for sure it is also this, and it's currently maybe term-wise even a little bit overhyped. But it will be long term. I'm 100% convinced. It will be like the internet before. It will be like mobile computing. It will be like cloud computing. It maybe takes just a while, like all the other technologies before, but I'm 100% sure it will come. So thank you. I'm now here to answer some questions.
Thank you for your talk. And now the people in YouTube, you can ask questions via the chat, or also people on Discord, they can post them there on Discord. And while they get to that, I'll start with questions because people are always like shy in the beginning and then they get started. When you have the virtual cocktails on these parties, how does the real world kind of work that you actually get also the feeling? Like, are you attending some of these parties, or is it that you create these and then you just see that they're technically running?
I I dance a lot in the metaverse. It's actually fun when you sometimes use your headphones. So a good friend of mine is a DJ in Berlin. He also made the after party. Um, yeah, and it can be really fun to actually do that in the metaverse. So I attended myself a lot of parties. I also think it's important, like the thing, like Microsoft, eat your own dog food. So, for example, we built our own platform, HoloSpaces, which we somehow deprecated in favor of Mesh. And we did our dailies 1 year all in the metaverse, and we tried kind of this time nobody called it metaverse, but we tried all of that things. So, yeah, I think it's important to really try the technologies and to get that feeling.
And what for you would, like you mentioned earlier, that the platform is not there yet, the hardware is not there yet. We're always kind of like, it's still not there, but we're trying. So what is kind of the next thing that you're super excited about that will like enhance the experience for you?
Yeah, that's
like, what would that be?
That's easy to answer. So it's already partially there. It's the face tracking. When you see now the MetaQuest 2, and let's say there are already devices that have it, but mostly they're bound to the computer, and you need a gaming hardware. This is unlikely that people will buy that. So I rather think a mobile virtual reality and things like that will work better. And what the things that I told before, for even bringing more social clue and then having a better feeling when I use my eyes or do something like this, and I have all my emotions also transported on my avatar. This is super important to even have a closer bonding. And I think bringing more of that social clues in makes it much more intense. Because now, I'm also, that's something I do not like so much about the well, let's say the mesh avatars that are coming now. You press a button and then you make here a heart or something like this, and I don't know. It's not really. I see that as an advantage. You can something put it on, but you never show the real emotions. And when somebody is ironic or something like this comes a lot. You say something and you smile with it, and you do that with such avatar. The other person does not know. Do you really? You make a joke. You mean that serious, and all that clues are missing. So I think it's especially for all that communication things. It's super important to bring the face into. And we are short before this phase.
Yeah, so that's going to be exciting because that's the next step. And I think we've seen also some demos last year where it sort of started. And then another thing that I was wondering, when you have in like larger companies, like now you had these town hall meetings or these parties that were specifically to meet people. But then there's also all these, let's say, water cooler moments where you actually meet people. And how would that work in a metaverse where you would need to, like, okay, you need to actually go there to meet people? Do you know if, like in a larger company, that people do an appointment, let's meet in the metaverse, or is it just during these bigger events that are hosted? Like how much is that embedded already in these bigger companies? Like you said with your daily stand-ups that you met there, but then what happens in between these, like when you're not in the same physical space?
No, you don't do this. You don't do, and then especially the larger. I will. There might be also startups, smaller companies. They may use it more often. But the larger companies for sure not, because they always have a special agreement, like prototyping, testing, because Allspace VR and all the other platforms, they're not really compliant or for security reasons. So it's more prototyping, experimenting, and then they rather have special agreements that they can use it for certain use cases. But it's definitely not part of the daily business. And what you also have to see, or when we started with HoloSpace as their own platform, what we found out is what does not work at all is when you only have virtual reality, or like Allspace VR, when you only have a Windows client, a FAT client, or something like this. We had situations, somebody stuck in traffic, or somebody, the Quest, the battery is empty, and then you have that meeting, and this person cannot join because no device ready, or it's in the mobile, it's stuck in a traffic jam or something. and you will always fall back to the next level, and then the people always would switch to Teams, and that's what I think why Teams will be. I'm 100% convinced Microsoft will make it in the enterprise metaverse with all that things, because you can just join, you're in a car, you use your Teams client, you're maybe in the office in a good condition, you will use the headset, or you have that very special things. What is also hard when we did the dailies is we before COVID, many of our people are actually in the headquarter, most of them, and then you have to look for a certain room so that you do not have the echo from the real audio and the remote audio, and so it's more, either you're completely in the metaverse to making good meeting. It's not really good in hybrid. And imagine now all that Microsoft Teams, rooms, and everything what is already integrated. You could have, I don't know, 5 people in a virtual room, and you have 5 people in the real room with a good audio system and everything, and they walk like in a physical in another room. So I think that's really for me the reason why I'm 100% sure Microsoft will make that, because they have all this, this hardware for bringing that. They have the compliance, security, and people can just use any device like always. It will be just an addition, and you will always be free to use it or not.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much for all the insights. And with that, I'll play a little outro video and say goodbye to you.
Bye bye, Martin.
Bye.